The budget battle is on as this Congress tries to do what the last Congress could not, and that, of course, is to pass a long-term budget. Senator John Cornyn is a member of the Finance and Budget Committees. He joins us this morning from Washington. Senator, good morning. Good to see you back.
Good morning.
So everybody's had their initial say, right? I mean, the president has said this is up to Congress. We've heard the word punting. We've heard the word dead on arrival. Net, do you think the chances of a government shutdown went up this week?
Nobody's talking about a government shutdown. We're talking about acting responsibly, and frankly, the president's budget proposal was disappointing because it deals with 12% of federal spending. It relies on a $1.6 trillion tax hike, and he seemed to walk away from his own fiscal commission report. So now the hard work, the heavy lifting starts in the House, and we will see them pass a continuing resolution and a budget proposal out of the House Budget Committee, and then it's up to the Senate to do its job.
Yeah, you mentioned the Fiscal Commission, and I'm wondering if you think it's fair for, say, Congressman Ryan to criticize the president for not embracing or endorsing those proposals when Congressman Ryan didn't vote for those proposals.
Well, I think Congressman Ryan had his own concerns about the Fiscal Commission report, but one thing he was pretty clear about is that the $4 trillion in cuts contemplated by the Fiscal Commission report were important to getting our economy back on track. You know, but it's not just about cuts, and I know everybody's talking about just the pain of cuts. It's about unleashing the power of the private sector to grow the economy so that, frankly, Treasury receipts will go up. The cuts and the economic growth will help close that gap and get us back into balance, hopefully.
Senator Dave Walker, as you know, spending is out of control. We clearly need to cut spending. There's no question about that. But as you also know, the true threat is not short-term spending. It's where we're headed with regard to entitlement programs. It's the growing gap with regard to revenues and expenditures over time. The real key, it seems, is going to be the debt ceiling limit. What are going to be the conditions for increasing the debt ceiling limit? Is it time to bring back tough budget controls? They helped us back from 90 to 2002. We've been totally out of control since then.
Well, I'm open to any suggestions, but one thing I think we fundamentally need is a balanced budget amendment to the United States Constitution. In 1997, we were one vote short of passing that in the Senate. It passed the House. At that time, our deficit was $107 billion. Now it's $1.5 trillion. Our debt was $5 trillion. Now it's $14 trillion. So I think the case is compelling that the federal government ought to be doing what every business, what every individual, what 49 states have to do by virtue of state law, and that is to pass a balanced budget. And without that straitjacket, I just don't see Congress getting the discipline to get it done.
Well, Senator, as you know, it takes quite a while to get a constitutional amendment. And the fact is, I would argue, in addition to the balanced budget amendment, you may want a line item veto. You may want a credit card limit. You know, Germany passed a credit card limit as to how much debt as a percentage of GDP they can take on. Maybe we need to do the same thing. But the fact is, that's awful ways. The battle over the debt ceiling limit is going to be within the next 3 months. And it seems to me that it's critically important that while the debt ceiling has to go up, we need to bring back some tough budget controls that will force decisions on entitlement programs, comprehensive tax reform, and out-of-control spending, or else we're going to have a debt crisis in this country.
Right. I don't disagree with anything you said. I think you're exactly right. But the problem is that we've seen when it's a statutory fix that Congress and the next Congress, perhaps when people aren't as attentive and aren't looking, then begin to undermine those reforms. That's why I think the constitutional amendment is so important. But I agree with you that we need to do all of the above when it comes to getting spending under control. But let's take our foot. The federal government needs to take its foot off the throat of the private sector because people are sitting on a lot of cash now. They're afraid to start new business, expand their current business, and create jobs. And we're going to see unemployment persist into 2012, according to Jack Lew, the budget director, at 8.6%. That's a lot of people who can't pay their home mortgages and a lot of pain and a lot of misery. We need to get people back to work.
I wonder, Senator, some who have been critical of the president have looked at the budget as it was rolled out this week and said that it makes his entire shift to the center, if you believed in that, somewhat suspect, and even makes the prospect of corporate tax reform a little less likely. Do you think that's true, or is this all part of the dance that you expected this week?
Well, as you know, the president is masterful in his speeches and in his public statements. But the problem is the reality, the actions don't match the rhetoric. and what we need to see are concrete actions. That's why this event, which is according to the Budget Act, it's the president's responsibility to send a proposed budget to Congress. That's why it was disappointing to see him provide this sort of timid, half-hearted effort. When we know what we need to do, entitlement reform, we need to cut discretionary spending, I think, to at least 2008 levels. The president's budget is a 33% increase over 2008 spending, so it really is a half-hearted effort at reform. I hope all this debate will provoke real action, because we need action, not just a lot of rhetoric.
Yes. Meanwhile, the American people stand by and wait. Senator, good to talk to you. Thanks for your time today.
Appreciate it.
Senator Cornyn.